Ambiguity, Mehrdeutigkeit. Das ist das Wort, das für Martynas Levickis die Beziehung zwischen sich und seinem Instrument am besten beschreibt. Martynas Levickis ist der Solist des heutigen Abends und was es mit dieser Mehrdeutigkeit auf sich hat, das werden wir gemeinsam im Laufe dieses Konzertes herausfinden. Levickis ist extra für diesen Abend für das Digitalprogramm beim Heidelberger Frühling Lasst uns spielen von Vilnius nach Heidelberg gereist. Mein Name ist Marie König und ich freue mich sehr, Sie durch dieses Programm führen zu dürfen und gemeinsam mit Ihnen Martynas etwas besser kennenzulernen. Das heutige Format trägt den Namen SPRINGboard und ja, in der genauen Übersetzung ist es eigentlich ein Sprungbrett hinein in die Künstlerpersönlichkeit, in die künstlerische Welt von Martynas Levickis. Und für Sie ist dieses SPRINGboard auch da. Sie haben nämlich die Möglichkeit, mit uns zu kommunizieren über die sozialen Netzwerke unter dem Hashtag Frühling25, Frühling mit UE und dann 25, über Twitter, über Instagram und auch auf der Facebook-Seite des Heidelberger Frühling sind Sie ganz herzlich eingeladen zu interagieren und vor allem auch Fragen zu stellen, die ich dann später zu einem bestimmten Zeitpunkt an den Künstler weitergeben werde. Ja, und nachdem wir jetzt diese praktischen Dinge erstmal geklärt haben, wünsche ich uns und Ihnen allen einen schönen Abend und wir legen jetzt direkt los mit Musik. Und zwar hat Martynas Levickis als erstes Stück ausgewählt die 3 ersten Sätze der französischen Suite Nummer 5 in G-Dur von Johann Sebastian Bach. Das sind die Allemande, Courante und Sarabande. Die ersten 3 Sätze aus der 5. französischen Suite von Johann Sebastian Bach waren das, gespielt von Martynas Levickis. Und ich hoffe, dass bei Ihnen zu Hause ankommt, wie wunderbar sich dieser Akkordeonklang hier im Frauenbad in Heidelberg ausbreitet. Ein ehemaliges Schwimmbad, was heute als Veranstaltungsort genutzt wird und was über eine wirklich wunderbare Akustik verfügt. Und wir wechseln jetzt ins Englische für das Gespräch. Sie werden im YouTube-Chat die deutschen Zusammenfassungen finden. Und genau, für die erste Frage an Martynas wechsle ich jetzt. I turn in English. And I wanted to know, when was the first time you heard or played Bach?
It is difficult to remember, but I'm quite sure it was in the music school. I started studying accordion at the music school at the age of 8. So I believe in somewhat first 3 years I tried a bit of Bach. But I remember very well that my teacher told me to play Bach very seriously and almost kind of put on the face of seriousness when playing Bach. And up until today, I do feel this tension that you must be serious. Even though I'm not a really funny person, I think, but this kind of tension within myself still exists. And today I try to play Bach to somehow get closer to his music through the accordion, which is, of course, not very usual. And as we know, Bach didn't quite like forte piano, and he refused to play on it and compose. So I'm wondering what would he think about his compositions being played on the accordion. But whenever in doubt in my musical life or career, I always open up Bach book and try to find something, some answers to my doubts or questions. And so this particular suite was something that I particularly wanted to be in major key, because all of my other Bach pieces are in minors: C minor, A minor, G sharp minor, D minor. And so for this one, I wanted a major key, and that's why I chose this French suite number 5. And it's still the beginning of exploration of this piece, but I'm really happy what it carries, this sort of elegant, transparent, warm, even I would say emotional, quite unusually for Bach, emotional attitude from within. And I particularly like slow movements, especially the sarabande, of which I know something because doing some researches, and it's quite surprising to reveal some historic parallels when you think, oh, sarabande is a very slow, sort of noble palace thing. But it comes from Spanish, Arabic, even African mixed cultures, and it used to be very tribal, fast dance in tribes, and even the name itself comes from the African dialect, and the name firstly sounded Nsala Banda, and the meaning of it is let's begin the spirit. So in this kind of attitude, it's nice to begin the concert with such approach. Let's begin the spirit.
Yes, that's wonderful. And also when I hear you talk, I feel that also the ambiguity that you spoke of earlier also reflects itself in Bach. Maybe would you like to explain why you chose this word for the relationship between you and the accordion?
I think it describes perfectly about everything that has to do with the accordion. It doesn't matter if it is on my shoulders or somebody else's shoulders, but and then it's my feeling towards it. So the accordion itself is quite ambiguous. It expands into 2 pieces. It has 2 different keyboards, actually 3, but you can only see like 3 in the body, 2 in the body. So this kind of expansion, the movement of air, the ambiguity in the repertoire, because it was born in 1829 in Vienna as a small primitive box, and it quickly became very popular in folk music, and that's how most of the people know this Quetschkommode, So my mission is to not ignore that. I love all that music. I think it belongs to the history of the instrument. But bringing all that heritage through something else like Bach, Vivaldi, Scarlatti, and even lately I touched a bit of Mahler, which is very new to me. And I like exploring the sounds, and it's never copying, at least I try, never to copy whatever the harpsichord, orchestra, or piano or violin plays. You have to find the sound from within the box. So it's always that kind of ambiguity relationship in the music. And then my own relationship with the instrument. I started also playing folk music, exactly in that picture right there. I'm in my summer house, in our family summer house. I used to go around those forests and play whatever I wanted to play. I didn't have a teacher at that time, so it was folk music. And today here I am trying to play Bach.
And playing Bach. So, yeah, you said the variety of genres also lies within this box, the accordion. And also on your first CD, I think you mixed Lady Gaga with Vivaldi, with other pieces. And maybe it comes from there that some people say you're the pop star of the accordion. I found this quote in a newspaper. And I wanted to ask you, can you relate to that? Do you feel like kind of a pop star of the accordion?
No, I think I feel more like an ambassador of the accordion. I put myself somewhere higher, I think, now. Yeah, I carry a mission. It's just not only to be famous and to be noticed and to be heard as a personality. It's more about the mission itself and witnessing moments like this tonight, playing in a classical music festival, Heidelberger Frühling, it is amazing achievement for this instrument, and I am just really lucky to be behind it tonight.
Yeah, you said you started playing accordion in a very early age, and we'll come back to that later. Now I want to ask you, also in the classical music scene, it's really an exotic instrument, kind of, still, I think. And when you studied in London at the Royal Academy of Music, was it still some kind of, not normal instrument, or were there many people who also studied accordion, or how was it then?
It was the greatest experience of my life. I call the whole London period of 6 years living there the school of my life, because not only I studied at the prestigious Royal Academy of Music, I also lived in a great city, and I learned a lot in different cultures, historical backgrounds, mentality. And then, of course, getting more narrow into the specific field of the profession, being at the academy. I think what I like the most is that you are a musician, first of all. Mm-hmm. You're not accordionist, you're not violinist, whatever. Everyone is a musician, and that sort of equality and at the same time competition amongst everyone, in the most positive sense of that word, is the greatest school. And then you get to play chamber music with a variety of instrumentalists. You get to share those moments. You get to learn from each other, not only from the professors. So that's why I think this sort of holistic approach in the academy in London was the best I could just hope for in my life.
Mm-hmm. And was it also that you played different genres at the academy also? Yeah, in your lessons with your teacher?
No, that's a very good question, because here comes the real ambiguity in my life, because I had great teachers in my life in general, but in Royal Academy of Music, Professor Owen Murray is a great professor, and not only he encourages and gives you all the needed information technically and musically to deliver whatever you want to play, but he also accepts your own direction. So it was never the only way it has to be. But I also understand that, Lady Gaga arrangement, I guess, is not a part of interest in the academic institution like this. And it doesn't have to be, because, I think I can carry it on my own. But I could always come and ask for advices from whichever genre I wanted.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And also big ambiguity. I read that at the same time when you studied in the Royal Academy of Music, you were part of a talent show in Lithuania, mm-hmm. and you got to win the first prize, I think in 2011, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, and how was that for you to be student and then the same time at the big stage in the TV?
It was really my aspiration, my ambition to be there, and again, not only to show off my face and my name, but firstly the instrument, and try to get it more popular amongst young people, and not only young people, because we still, some of the people still have that attitude that this is a very old-fashioned instrument and maybe very loud and annoying that you hear on the streets or in the subways. But the truth is, accordion is a very, very dynamic instrument, and I hope the program tonight will show that it can go from a really, really little, small, barely audible sound to majestic, orchestral, very broad sound. And that's what I really love about this instrument.
Yes, and I think we can hear that also in the next piece. Impasse by Franck Angelis. Now I have to switch to French because he's a French composer, contemporary composer. And maybe, do you want to tell us something about the piece? I think Impasse means something like also a dead end or a narrow piece of a street maybe. How does that reflect in the piece?
Well, Franck Angelis wrote this piece after tragic events in his own life. Mm-hmm. I think his nephew passed away. So it is a very tragic feeling about the piece. And of course the title suggests it firstly, but also you will hear the harmonies, and the whole setting of the piece is very emotional and carries a lot of, I don't want to say sadness, maybe it can be hope, it can be dream, it can be melancholy, it can be nostalgia, and all of that is contained in that music. So I only played a few pieces by Angelis before I took Impasse, and it's also very recent, and I'm really happy that it joins together so well with the French suite. And now we have the French composer, Franck Angelis, and his one of the most famous piece, Impasse. And this will be 3 movements out of 4 tonight.
Okay. Impasse, ein Stück von Franck Angelis, gespielt von Martynas Levickis hier beim Heidelberger Frühling. Ich freue mich sehr, dass Sie dabei sind und möchte Sie gerne noch mal darauf hinweisen, dass Sie gerne Fragen stellen können unter der E-Mail-Adresse fragen@frühling25.de oder auch in den sozialen Netzwerken unter dem Hashtag Frühling25. Wir haben jetzt die Gelegenheit, und darüber freue ich mich sehr, einen kleinen Blick in die Kindheit von Martynas zu werfen. We are now going to take a look on your childhood and on the beginnings of your accordion playing. Right. And I'm very happy that you brought some pictures of yourself. But first I want to ask you a question, because I saw a comment below a YouTube video of yours, and somebody wrote, "What else could you do in the Pampas other than play accordion?" I think it's a very rude comment, but I wanted to ask you, is there some truth in it? Maybe when you were a small child and this was just like a hobby, you began to play something and then it was just like, wow, the accordion. Or how did it begin?
Yes, my first musical impression had nothing to do with the accordion. I saw a piano performance on the TV and I was mesmerized by it. So I started tapping my fingers on the table in front of a family at the dinner, and they really noticed that I'm really enjoying my imaginary piano at this table. So they thought it would be great to get this kid an instrument. And this was 1993, around that year. Lots going on in the country, so people didn't have much money and they couldn't afford to buy a piano for me. And my godfather somehow found this accordion, small children's accordion, and thought, oh, this could be a great alternative for him. And so I had my first accordion as a gift, and it was as an alternative to the piano.
Okay. Is it that one that we see in the picture here?
No, in the picture you actually see my godfather, who's to my left. Mm-hmm. And the other man is a collector of the instruments, and so we visited him once, and I tried various different instruments. In fact, you can't really see any proper accordion in there. It's mostly diatonic harmonicas. And here, again, we have this ambiguity in the accordion world because there are so many cousins, brothers and sisters of that instrument.
Okay, but how's the harmonica related to the accordion that we play today, for example?
Well, it is related. First of all, they have one very specific feature. All of these instruments, they have bellows, so that moving part in between the two bodies of the instrument. So this is the lungs of every aerophonic instrument. And this is the first common feature, that all of them have it. And then it differs in buttons, keys, and different shapes of keys, and different systems of buttons. It's an entire world. Even I, as a professional accordionist, I wouldn't dare to say that I know that world. It is really quite complex and very different depending on each country, region, and traditions.
And would you say it was love at first sight with the instrument when you began?
Indeed it was. And firstly, I think it was a mechanical love. I was so fascinated with everything that is moving inside. And later on I had some bigger accordions, because I started with a really small one, and then there were a few other instruments that were really old and I didn't want to play them. So I took the liberty and started dismantling them and checking what's inside. And the problem was I never could put them back together, so they stayed apart. And then I guess they made it to the trash bin. Yeah, poor them, and really bad on me. But anyway, it was a very good exploration, first of all mechanically, and first love with that instrument, because I loved the very touch of it. And then, of course, it was all that romantic side of it, poetic side. We had our summer house in the middle of the forest, so we didn't have neighbors, almost, not that one could see. Mm-hmm. So I used to walk around those forests and imitate whatever I heard in the forest, be it shimmering trees or some singing birds. Or sometimes there used to be just some folk music that I used to hear somewhere around, adults singing, or maybe again on the TV or radio.
Maybe we look at the next picture, because I wanted to know then who was the person that brought you the accordion then, the instrument? Was it your godfather or was it another person?
The picture...
Yeah, the picture we see the next. I don't know.
Is that the one?
Yeah, that is the one. Who is that in the picture?
So this is someone who is a husband of my, let's say, first actual teacher, who somehow happens to be our distant relative in the family. And so they invited them to kind of have a look at this guy. Is he talented? Do we need to find a school for him? So it was a kind of audition for them, and then immediately we got along with the crowd, and here I am playing some, again, I'm sure it's folk music, with a man who actually professionally plays saxophone, but also in his free time plays accordion.
And the instrument looks really big on you. Is it actually too big, or do you start with a big one when you start playing professionally or in a...
No, it really depends on your body and how you manage physically to keep the instrument on yourself and also control it. So obviously I started with a really small one, but then of course you don't want to play with a small one. And as I said, I had these old instruments that were up to here, and I used to play in front of the mirror so that, you know, I could see the fingers, what I'm doing. That's when I taught myself. But here actually I see that this moment is from a little later on. I have the accordion from the school, which was a very high class, almost new accordion, and I loved playing it. And so they gave it to me to have it over the weekend or so, and this is one of those weekends that I'm enjoying playing it.
Yeah, and I also saw one picture, maybe we could look at it at the next, that obviously you enjoyed also standing on the stage or presenting yourself. I like this picture very much. What were you doing?
Well, here I am impersonating the autumn. I'm not sure if you have these autumn celebrations where you carve some potatoes and you do stuff from the harvested vegetables, pumpkins, all of that. So I also thought it could be a great way to kind of impersonate. And in my childhood, I used to do acting. I would find some actors from the movies we used to watch, or even animals. So I remember even as I was younger, somewhat like barely 3 years old, I tried to impersonate the swan, which lived in our summer house, but she wasn't well, she couldn't walk properly, so I kind of did the same to support her. So all of that artistic approach and appeal was really there, present right from the childhood, and I never had a problem dressing up and walking around and entertaining adults. That's
so nice. And that led also to the first concerts. I think in the next picture we see you on stage, actually. Yes. Can you remember what kind of concert this was, or was it?
This was exactly one of the first appearances on the real stage in the music school. And yes, I can see I'm trying hard to be serious. No, but my teachers saw that sort of artistic approach, and they always let me be free. And they even used to say that the more cameras there are in the audience, or the more people there are, the better you play. So that really
Is it still like that
encouraged me. Well, by now I've played in Waldbühne, Berlin, and it
with
was
18,000 people or something like that, right?
Something like that. Yeah. I also played in Mexico, Auditorio Nacional. For 11,000 people, and I played for 36 people and for 1 people. And you know, it's different all the time. Of course, the mass gives you this big euphoria inside yourself. But I find it that in an intimate setting, it is more challenging to really open up. because it is really close relationship, like tonight. But I'm saying challenging in a good way. I like that challenge. It is rather personal and very close. I love it.
You talked about the summer house. Maybe we look at the next picture. I'm not quite sure if it was taken there at the summer house, but somewhere in the country. And you were driving a tractor, right?
Yes.
Who
I
was that?
am a huge fan of automobiles and all the mechanics. Hence, I have this very mechanical instrument in my life. And since very early years, I was very fascinated with all of the cars. And to me, driving this tractor was the highest dream, probably higher than playing the accordion. And so here, I think there was nobody to drive it. Because there was a limited number of adults who could actually work. So I was set to this task to drive the tractor, and of course I was the luckiest one. But it wasn't the only moment I got to drive this machine. I used to drive it quite a lot.
Do you know how old you were in this picture?
Here I must be about 8.
Okay, okay. So I think there have been some questions, and I'm going to now look what the people ask. So, somebody is asking, you were talking about films, what movies you have watched in your childhood, and somebody asked, are you a Star Trek fan? Because somehow your has a little bit like, but I love it. I find it a great color, and it really fits you well, but are you a Star Trek fan? Funny question.
Here I have to break the mystery and some sort of expectations. I'm not a fan of this sort of space fantasy movies.
Okay.
So Star Trek is not my cup of tea, but I'm beginning to like them, especially this year that I watch more and more because of the freed up time. I'm beginning to like it, but usually I'm more into a little heavier stuff or weird stuff. So movies like Coffee and Cigarettes or A Night on Earth by Jarmusch, these are my kind of movies.
Okay. And somebody other asked, if you didn't play the accordion, what would be your dream job? Maybe tractor driver? No? Farmer?
I actually said it some time ago publicly that if not the accordion, perhaps I would be just driving taxi.
Wow.
Because I love driving. But one thing is ideal fantasy of driving on some highway, fast and nice car. But the reality is you can be stuck in traffic, and the struggle is almost the same, like, in every other profession. So there's no escape when you think, oh, maybe this is too hard or I'm tired. I'm talking in general, not only about myself, but every profession has its struggles. But something to do with driving for sure would fit me, but I'm sure I would also find some other professions.
Okay. Talking about the summer house brings us also to the next 3 pieces.
Yes.
Because these are actually Lithuanian folk songs. And I think the second one you told me a very nice story about. Where did you get to know it?
Yes, the second one is a song called Shunamo. And I got to know it exactly there where I picked up the accordion in our summer house. And as I said, we didn't have neighbors that you could see, but we had some neighbors. So there was this very old woman who must have been more than 80 years old at that time, very small. She had big brown eyes, and I still remember them so very vividly. And very interestingly, me being, 5, 6, 7 years old, I used to hang around her house, which was a very small, almost medieval-like hut. It didn't even have floors. It was mud.
On the earth?
Yes. I remember it really vividly. And so...
And she lived there the whole time?
She lived there the whole time in a very ascetic way. I haven't seen anyone live like this. So I wouldn't say poor, because she had everything she wanted to have. Her life was quite simple. And so once she taught me this song, because I used to come around that house and we used to spend some time together. And she taught me that song, which is called Shu Namo. And in English, that's like G up home. But to me, it sounds too jolly, too somehow, ooh. But the song is a lament kind of song. And like most of the songs in Lithuanian tradition that are sort of slow and lament type of songs, they are about a subject that is a girl, usually being married to someone that she doesn't love. And it's an arrangement by parents, and then she has to leave the home and live somewhere else with parents-in-law and her new husband. So that kind of inner drama of going against your will is very much trademark throughout those songs. But in this one, in the set of those three, this will be the second one, it tells a story about yearning, a feeling of really wanting to come back home and missing your parents, your house. And so this dream of coming back home is being helped by the moon, by the trees, and by the birds, and so on. So, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Would you maybe like to speak or sing the text in Lithuanian? I'd really love to hear how it sounds in original.
Okay, I'll try one verse.
Okay.
Shunamo, tunamo, toli mano namele, už aukštųjų kalvarių, už žaliųjų girelių, už aukštųjų kalvarių, už žaliųjų girelių.
Do you still remember the voice of the old woman when you sing it yourself?
I do remember the voice. It was quite high and very small as the old woman was. She was quite tiny and sort of fragile, you know. But it is a very distinct memory from my childhood, and I would still love to go and see her, but I'm quite sure it is not possible anymore.
Now you arranged the song for your instrument without voice. Yes. And before we hear another small song, how is it called?
Yeah, the first song is called Lelumoy, and it's a funny, I say funny, but the title itself to me in my modern Lithuanian understanding doesn't mean anything. But from the old language, it is a sort of refrain words used in wintertime songs. Mm-hmm. And so again, this tells a story about a girl living in father-in-law house, and father-in-law tells her to do stuff that is impossible. She needs to go find wildfire, the snow of summer, and the green grass of winter. And so she goes with this inner drama, looking for the impossible, and she meets her father, her actual father, who gives her advices how to do that. So she gets away with this. And then the third song of the set is called Palinko liepa šalia kelio. That means a linden tree by the roadside boat. And basically it tells a story about the wartime when a young boy, a boy finally in the song, is going to the fight and is saying goodbye to the mother and his girlfriend, and they are of course crying and thinking if he's going to come back, and he says, if I'm not going to come back, that means I fought the freedom and we are going to meet in heaven.
Drei litauische Volkslieder, gespielt von Martynas Levickis. The third one, does it end so open in the original?
No.
No, it is your arrangement.
I left it open with that thought about, someone leaving without knowing that, they for sure will come back. So it is that thought of uncertainty.
Do you feel also like an ambassador for the folk music of your country?
I am becoming one, for sure.
Yes.
But there is a story behind it, because obviously I started with folk music, then I entered the music school with serious Bach and everything serious. And I had some trouble in the first years to, learn music theory and all of that, because I thought I knew how to do things on the instrument, but it was mostly wrong. So I had to relearn a lot of stuff. And throughout this process, naturally, I became more interested in the academic approach of this instrument, and especially I was set out to do so in London. Right after I entered the school, I thought, this is it, I'm becoming a serious classical musician. And here, you might have plans, but the God is laughing at them. So exactly this is what happened. And I met all the people in there that were so crazily interested about Lithuania, about the culture, about the language, about the music. So I had no other choice just to come back to that music, and that's exactly when I started arranging the melodies. And so I fell back in love with all that folk music, and I'm really proud and happy to have such arrangements and that sort of national flavor in my programs, because it does represent me.
Yes, and you also do arrange other pieces, not just for yourself, but also for a bigger orchestra. You founded one yourself, the Micro Orchestra. Yes. What was the idea or your wish behind this orchestra?
Well, I do think that the synthesis of the accordion sound and strings is quite spectacular and very unique, because again, the ambiguity is very present in there. The raw textures that you cannot really distinguish whether there is an accordion in there or is it just string instruments playing, and then you can really go into another side and contrast the sound. So I like that sort of playful character of the sound world between the strings and the accordion. And in general, I love playing with string players, and they bring me to different audiences and different stages and festivals and concerts. And I bring them also to a different world, and we meet somewhere in between, which to me is a very exciting journey to do all that and meet all together in some specific point.
I think you founded it also in Vilnius, right? Is it also kind of, in the music scene in Lithuania? I asked myself how young people get along there, and especially at the moment, maybe with Corona. How is it there?
First of all, the music scene in Lithuania is quite young.
Yes.
And I'm really happy whenever I go to the Philharmonie in Vilnius, I see young faces. And perhaps some of them come because of this fashion to be in the high culture. But I think most of them are genuinely interested in the music and in the programs that are being presented, be it the Philharmonie or some other stage. So this is something I'm really proud about, because the audience average age is quite young. And that gives a really clear sign that the classical music in Lithuania is alive very much, and it has clear future, clear target audience that will, as I like to say, consume this music. It is important. And also part of my own mission, I always try to to get young people interested in the accordion, and I'm really happy that a lot of them then decide to play this instrument. I get calls from accordion teachers telling me that, oh, there's this kid that really wants to be like you. So it is touching, and it does give you a sign that, you know, it has impact. It's being heard somewhere.
That's nice. So we will hear another folk song from Lithuania, and I think you have to tell me how to speak it.
Yeah, it's called Ruta Žalioji.
Ruta Žalioji. Mm-hmm.
In English, it's the verdant rue, which is a symbol of virginity. And again, it tells a story about a young girl feeling very tired after work in the fields. I'm not sure what is the work. It doesn't mention in the song, but we could speculate it must be some kind of shepherd thing for a young girl. And she's looking forward to come back home where mother is awaiting her and preparing the dinner and will let her to rest.
Wow. Ruta Jaloi, right?
Yes, correct.
Lithuanian folk song played by Martynas Levickis. And I saw there were some comments also in Lithuanian. Many people are listening in your home country.
Great.
And somebody wrote, I'm sure I do not pronounce this correctly, but I try. Sveikinami, didžiuojamės, ilgimės. What does it mean? Did you understand?
We congratulate you, we are proud of you, and we are missing you.
That's so nice. So another comment is wonderful, so touching to hear this one person in this big room. And another person from Lithuania wrote, I remember a young man in TV who demonstrated to the whole music scene his power. Well done. Very nice. And maybe one question. Somebody asked, Martynas, are you playing with your own accordion right now? Is this your own instrument?
Yes.
Yeah, but maybe that leads us to an interesting topic. How many accordions do you have? Do you have this one, or do you have several instruments?
It's a very high secret.
Oh, okay.
I do have 3 instruments, out of which I use 2 mostly, and the third one is something that came along a few years ago, and it was meant to be for this kind of light, entertaining style of playing, and it's all shiny and blue and has my name on it. Wow. But it really became like a souvenir, and it's resting in the box most of the time.
Okay. I think everyone or many people know much about old violins, or about violins, that there's Stradivari maybe or something like this. But I have to admit, I know not much about accordions. So do you play an old instrument, or is it like second-hand or old, or is it new? How is it in your world?
Yeah, unlike with violins, accordion doesn't age very well, just because it is a very mechanic instrument. It's a bit like with piano. So the newer the better. Not exactly the newest. You have to play it for a little while, maybe half a year, and then it's the perfect golden middle. But yeah, the history right now is that most of the manufacturers of the accordion are based in Italy, in one specific town called Castelfidardo, and there are quite a few families that founded various workshops and factories of that instrument, and it's like an accordion town. So there are a few of them. My own is Pagini, which is the name of the Italian family who founded the factory. And to me, it's really one of the greatest instruments, especially for the classical stage. But here I am playing folk arrangements, and it's never just one direction. You can find different colors and sounds with every instrument.
Yeah, but this instrument I saw is very special because you can see in the inside of the instrument. Maybe you can show it to the camera.
Yeah, I call it the box of mystery because it opens up in many ways, and this is just the very superficial opening, the front grille, and people can see how it moves. A lot of people say, oh, it's like piano, you have keys and some hammers, but it differs a lot because everything that happens inside is to do with air. So essentially it's like a wind instrument, and you have to manage that air with the bellow, which is between, and then you have also the other keyboard there, and lots of reeds, steel reeds inside that make the actual sound. They start vibrating because of the moving air.
So it's steel, but it's also wood, I saw.
Oh yes, a lot of different materials are in the accordion. A few kinds of wood is being used. Aluminium, even the aluminium that is used for making airplanes
Ah.
This kind of very high class and very light aluminum, because obviously everyone has to take care when making this instrument. It's heavy, you know. This one is about 18 kilos, and the heavier it is, the harder it is to control it and to tackle it. So yeah, but you have to have this kind of body because the inside is crammed with stuff, and the resonant room is not that big. When you think a smaller instrument like violin, for instance, has this relatively big box that can resonate the sound from the 4 strings only. Here we have lots of material that, of course, fills up the instrument, and so the resonance is very important. That's why I was so happy to see this room tonight, and I'm feeling privileged to play here because I'm enjoying the sound so much.
Yeah, me too. But is it also important to do something for your shoulders then, to stay sane? Is it a problem for accordion players?
A lot of people do say that, oh, you must work out so much to be able to at least carry it. Or another quite wrong example is that thinking this is a workout, what I'm doing on stage. So it is not. It can never be a real physical struggle. There are struggles, of course. Every musician has that. But yeah, like every musician has to take care of the body in specific parts, and shoulders for every musician are important. And I'm sure that everyone has different ways of taking care of them, and fingers, arms, everything.
So we hear this magic box one more time, 2 more times actually. It's the last folk song you will play this evening.
Yeah.
How is it called and what is it about in the original?
It's called Begrüßung, ersten, and the English title is The Dawn is Breaking. So, as the title suggests, it's a really, really early morning mood. The sun is barely rising. The birds are singing. This kind of meditative feeling. And obviously there is a story in that song again about a girl who needs to go and marry a boy. But to me, it's not so much about this textual context. To me, that the dawn is breaking is a very symbolic feature of that song. That, you know, whenever it's hard times, you can always remember that the dawn will come, and it's always time for a new beginning, for freedom and love in the world.
We'll hear that in the song now. The Dawn is Breaking, ein litauisches Volkslied, gespielt und arrangiert von Martynas Levickis. Und damit sind wir jetzt schon fast am Ende des Programms angelangt. We are almost finished with the concert now. There's one more question I find really interesting. Somebody asked, have you composed yourself also pieces?
I have. I don't call myself a composer, but yes, I have done a few pieces. And right now, in the past few weeks, it has been quite active. I'm working on one specific piece that I will have to premiere in another festival here in Germany, but I still have a few years to finish that, which is great because I'm usually quite good with finding the momentum and the idea, but then the actual craft of composing, you know, it is work. You need to find the right way to join it all together and to make it in one piece. So this is what I'm doing, yeah. From time to time I'm doing that.
But you won't say which festival it will be? It's still a secret?
Oh no, it is not a secret. It is a long-lasting relationship with a wonderful festival in the north, Mecklenburg-Vorpommern. And I think it was the first festival that I entered in Germany. So it does have a specific place in my heart.
Okay. And have you learned composing also in London, or have you taught yourself?
Yes, I actually started studying composition since I was 16.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, as a module in the school, and then I picked it up in the academy, as well as conducting. And so when you mention the string orchestra that I founded, I also enjoy not only playing, but sometimes just conducting, if one can say just conducting. Yeah. So it's a spectrum of activities.
So we will come to the last piece. It's Oblivion by Astor Piazzolla. And yeah, it's maybe the name that most people know best when related to the accordion, I think. What does he mean for you, Piazzolla?
Well, first of all, Piazzolla never really played the accordion, and his relationship with the accordion was not that good.
Why?
He actually even said once that my tango should never be played on the accordion because accordion sounds too jolly. It's too happy for my tango nuevo. And it's no secret he played a bandoneon, which has this sort of melancholic, deep, very direct sound that we're used to hearing in tango by Astor Piazzolla. But I'm quite sure that he might have not had a possibility to hear the real concert type of the accordion. And since it is great music, and especially this year that the world is celebrating Piazzolla's 100-year anniversary, it is important to include it. And of course, in the accordion concerts, I'm sure this year we'll have a lot of Piazzolla. But also, I'm really glad that it links very well in this program together with Franck Angelis, who clearly has inspiration from Astor. So it's great to have it all in one place.
Wir hören jetzt Astor Piazzolla, Oblivion. Oblivion von Astor Piazzolla. Damit endet der heutige Konzertabend SPRINGboard mit Martynas Levickis. Ich freue mich sehr, dass Sie zugeschaut und zugehört haben. Und wenn Sie Lust haben, schauen Sie einfach mal unter www.frühling25.de. Es gibt noch viele spannende Konzerte dort zu sehen in den nächsten Tagen. Und ich freue mich, wenn ich Sie wieder hier begrüßen darf. Thanks also to the audience from Lithuania, maybe from the whole world, that were watching us, and especially Martynas. And thank you so much for being here and for talking with me, answering all the questions.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here.
Of course. Yes, it was such a beautiful evening. Thank you so much. In these COVID times, it's great to have something like that. Ich hoffe, Ihnen hat's auch gefallen. Und dann wünsche ich Ihnen jetzt noch einen ganz schönen Abend. Machen Sie es gut und bis hoffentlich bald wieder hier beim Heidelberger Frühling. Lasst uns spielen.